Okay. Oops. Apparently my mic didn't work for a second. What I was saying is that this is an opening that has been seen many times inside the meta. So, but there's actually a really interesting point. B6 is actually a move that has never been seen before, that haven't seen before in this move order. So we'll definitely have some interesting ideas. For example, something that I'm thinking that will happen is a break on c5 eventually. Is definitely a possibility inside the realm of this game. Um, huh. Yeah, so I guess that what Mauer is playing right now, Mauer is playing as black. Mauer is trying to go for a break on c5. Huh, that's really interesting. A long castle, and we see a long castle here. So castling is usually really is not that common usually, just because it's not. It requires a lot of uh, it requires a lot of knowledge to know when is the right moment to do it correctly. So, for example, in our for example, some ideas that usually can happen is usually there's ideas time travel to this world, but the way that qqq made it actually prevents this, and this is actually a really interesting idea way to castle. The only issue that I'm looking at is that there's probably a way in which black plays queen e6 and a2, which might be devastating for Mother. Sorry for qqq. So another thing that we have to see right now is that in this game, we have to consider that both of them have been new players from the game, and that they have been taught by the teachers. QQQ was being taught by a human being, while Mauer has been taught by Mage. Both of them are great players. A human being has been a really underrated player, in my opinion, that has been dominating the 5 chess scene uh, in the underground. And on the other hand, we have Mage, who is by far is a really good coach and player. He is right now top 5. So these players have been learning from really high level players, 5 chess, and I'm wondering what new tricks they are bringing into the table right now. So another thing to notice. Uh, so right now, I believe that what we're going to see is probably some moves to consider is that uh, huh. So we find a b5 actually, a b5. So we see a b5 from Mahler, which is actually a really interesting choice, I must say, because this can lead to QQQ to have some positions in which he's going to be in danger of against a5. Um, some advantages that this provides is, well, this is just going to be really strong. However, there's also some disadvantage that has to be said of doing a setup like this one. First of all, uh, the C pawn is going to become really weak at this point, and it's something that you have to be really careful at a high 5 chess level. because this pawn is definitely going to be a main weakness, and we have to just think about how many of these as a weakness that might happen here. So yeah. Uh, on the other side, I must say that this looks like a really interesting move. So right now, the QQQ is taking his time in order to make this a really, uh, in order to make sure that this is the way to go. So yeah, so some ways this can proceed is uh, so some moves that I think that white should go for is probably something like he has to prevent this win in my opinion. Probably 8-3 can work, but then 8-3 can also be really dangerous because then push and then just everything seems to collapse. Um, yeah, I guess that you can also play uh, knight. You can also play knight to b6, knight to c5 as black. As white probably at some point what he has to do is play queen back to b1, which might be weird, but that's actually on the realm of possibilities to defend all the queen side for the castle. So we can see right now that QQQ is taking his time um, right now. So I guess that this is going to become really that there must be something that he has to be considering. It's not an easy position, definitely not an easy position to think about what to move here. So yeah, we have to see what else can happen here. Um, so yeah, on the point that right now we are uh, I believe that something that we can get is that at some point we can see a time travel here if white is able to push this, if force a push here. This will be actually a really interesting way. Oh, there was a move right now. And rook up to d2. I guess that trying to start protecting defending here in order here on on b2 in order to prepare some ideas, start defending in queen to a6. Now this is a move that is really dangerous for Mauer, not for QQQ, because now Mauer is going to be playing for a2. a2 will be definitely the weakness that that will drive into the that will drive uh, that we will be seeing in this game. And queen b1. Oh no, queen b1 is still being considered. So we can see right now that Mauer is just thinking that QQQ is thinking that on going back. I think that this is actually a really viable move. I think that yeah, so he actually goes for it. And now Mauer is probably looking at time travels, which make a lot of sense. But the thing is that if the knight is here, many of the time travels are not going to work as well, just because this knight is going to be defending. But right now, the Mauer has been able to make sure that Mauer stays on that QQQ stays on a really passive position. A move that can happen here, it's a funny move that can happen here. Is actually queen a6, a3, because of course you cannot take it because then it will end on mate. Uh, and if you're confused, why if you take here queen takes and then check is going to be into the past. Therefore, it's actually a 5 check, a time check. Okay, so some other possibilities that we can be seeing right now is probably that we are going to see the queen probably moving to uh, we can probably see the queen moving to uh, give me a second. Let's see. We actually see this move before. I think that this move will be really devastating for white in the aspect that this move is going to break out into the castling. And besides opening into the castling, it's also opening lines for the queen, and you cannot take back because then this open file is just going to is actually just going to end up with mate. So let's see what they're trying to do right now. Right now, it seems that that they're still in the same position that they are right now, and yeah, I guess that there's some interesting moves that can happen at this point, but I'm still wondering uh, what's going to be the plan for Mauer, how he will try to crack down this castle. So another move that might be interesting to see in order to defend might actually be to sack completely the knight here on c5 and try to bet to that you're going to be able to bring a knight here and try to go for the weaknesses. Might be a way to go for counterplay. In case you are wondering why will this be a sacrifice, well, there will be that will actually be a move that just end up with this. So right now we actually see before in game, which is really which makes a lot of sense. Apparently, Maurer is looking at some time troubles, and I wonder if, for example, Black has. Okay, so he's looking at one more turn. He's probably looking here on D10, but there's nothing there. He's still looking at D10, but I think that there's nothing at D10 because the knight is just simply defending a lot more than it looks like. So actually, it's right now. Uh, as long as the game stays in one timeline. I mean, even if he time travels, if we see Mauer time traveling, I think that Maru should be actually sorry, that qqq should be actually fine after attempts of Mauer trying to go into a2. Rook d3. Rook d3. Actually, that's a really good move, I must say. Point being that if you take, you take back. If you take this pawn, for example, let me just show it in the analysis board. If you take this pawn, you can actually just go back with the rook, take, and being able to do something to defend here. Probably is not the way in which he wants to proceed. Probably he's also looking that this queen can actually enter here and he might block it, so he can actually even take on. He can even actually take if he wants to, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen like that. On the other way around, uh, something that another thing that could happen definitely is we can watch. We can probably see something like bishop to bishop to c7. No, what? Not that bishop. It's bishop to c7. We're going to see. I'm sure that we're going to see something like takes. I think that's the move that makes the most sense in my opinion. It's just, it's just, huh? Looking for time travel. So Maori is looking for time travel. So in case you're wondering why this time travel, I don't think it might work. The time travel that Maori is looking at. Um, so there's actually, let me show you. So it's actually, the thing is that it's actually really defendable. It's really defendable at this point. The knight, the rook. I mean, right now it's not going to be possible, but in the next turn, probably we can see it. Uh, There's a miscalculation probably because the queen is defending b2, the knight is defending a1, queen to c2, and everything holds on. Another story. But let's see what Maurer is actually thinking right now. Uh, I guess that a move definitely can be just take, takes, and try to go and try to see if. Oh, actually no. Actually, wait. What have I thought? No. Okay, this is not good. If takes, you cannot take back with the pawn because then you get mated on a3 with the queen. So you actually have to require to take with. You are actually required to take with rook. Then probably queen to e2 might be interesting, but I'm not sure if it's how that how much how dangerous that is for you to go for. So probably he's fine. I don't know. And we see knight, and then we see knight to e4. Knight to e4 is definitely a really interesting move. Knight to e4 has the idea that he wants to prepare this idea, this move a little bit more first before committing before committing here before committing to everything. It also has the idea that if you that you can actually just you have to be careful here because it has to it has to it also has the idea that if you after what black takes on c2 on c3 white black can actually take it back here with check and force a recapture with the pawn which ends up in mate. So it's actually a really intelligent move here that can occur to make sure that this game just stays stable for Mauer. Now the question is, what does Q will make in this position? Because now for everything that you have committed for to an attack, there's also new weaknesses in the future. For example, f7 might become a weakness in the future. Right now, it's not because even if you time travel here with the queen, with the bishop, the king can just move and it should be fine to be there. So because yeah, you're not forced to take. So I'm wondering here what will Q play. I'm not sure what he's thinking about at this point, but I'm sure that it's definitely going to be an interesting move. Because uh, this castle is definitely just really annoying for white at this moment. Also, another idea is that f2 is going to be hanging, which might also which will definitely also attack these, both of them, of these rooks. So it's going to be annoying. Um, so yeah, right now they're more or less the same on in what time it is. So on time, so that's actually really good for both of the. That's really good because that means that shows how both players have been preparing themselves in also having this time management that is really good. At this point, something that can happen. I'm wondering if there's a way for what for black. Probably black can play some can so some moves that we can see on the analysis. We can probably see rook to f1, which would just keep it here this, and because this is not really a defendable threat that you can go, because unless you wanted to go for it, will be something like this, but then time traveling it and it's made. So it's not an easy move to deal with, probably, and Mauer is simply going to chop c3 next turn. So the question now is how he actually wants to get this. Because he cannot even move, he can also not move the king because then this knight is just going to enter into check. And it's not going to be nice for him. Okay, what else can happen here? My guess is that also is also that that qqq is going probably to go to. I mean, he has to create some type of counter attack. Another idea that is weird is probably bishop c7 to go to bishop a5 and try to defend several things at the same time, just like a weird rotation that can be done. I don't think this is actually defendable. He's going to lose. He's going to lose a pawn, definitely, and that's actually a crucial pawn for. That's a crucial pawn for the for uh, Q's defense because that pawn will that will eventually open this up. I think that probably what Mauer has to do at this point is probably long castle, sorry, to short castle, and after a short castle, which will be fine, to bring all the rooks and pressure into the B file, which which everything combined there is not going to be a fun experience for. It's not going to be a fun experience for uh, kids at the to say the very least. We see now. We haven't seen a move yet. Let me go back to the game. Oh, never mind. I was right. I'm still confusing myself with this. I have to practice these shifts a little bit better. Um, yeah, probably. Okay, we see a move right now. And he played the knight back to d2. I think that that's actually a pretty reasonable move. The knight back. Yeah. I should probably just give me a second. Yeah, I'm going to move this one. Oh no. Oh yeah. So right now we are seeing that Maurer is definitely is considering some time troubles. I don't know why he would think right now with the knight. I think the knight is actually not that strong. Maybe. Oh, actually now there might be some issues. Then he then he didn't. He's not looking at knight to knight to f2 might actually look as a really interesting idea that might even be actually kind of winning at some point for yeah. Okay, they Mauer played a move. Yes, he took here on f2, which is the logical move in my opinion. And now he's also threatening in the future. He will definitely time travel here to to e2, which will be really devastating for Q. Right now, Q is having half the time that on the clock than Mauer has right now. So that shows how much pressure he's feeling at the moment with this position. I think that a time travel to E2 soon might be coming. Things that can happen at this point is takes. So I think something a line that can happen is rook f1, pawn takes e3, and you cannot take the knight because then check takes mate. And if you go like this, well, then you have time to move this knight to time travel back to e2. I think that's a line that we can see. And yeah, actually, uh, Q is actually considering the rook to f1. And let's see how what Maurer has been thinking. Maurer has been taught by Mage, who has been one of the most trickiest players of the 5D chess community. And he goes for the material. Queen takes, queen takes. Oh, oh, this is so nasty. This is so nasty what we're seeing right now. Oh, yeah, this is not looking good at all for for Kier. This is actually dangerous. He is going to die in a couple of turns at this moment. Yeah. Wow. Wow. This idea was really good. I'll explain it right now. I just want to understand a little bit. takes. Yeah, yeah, that's a really beautiful mate. So for anyone that didn't understood what was happening right now, for a sec, yeah, I'm just going to do. Wow, that's actually a really good mate. So I mean, this is not the mate, but this is going to end up the same. This is actually a really nice mate from Mauer, because he lured the king here, and he knew that because this queen was here, he will be able to time travel next turn. Let's say this move, and then 2 turns back with the knight, and this is mate because a Tchaikovsky idea. Wow. Okay. Now we're going to see Mauer playing with as white, and, and something I can expect is probably we are going to see some e3 openings at this point. E3 is definitely going to be the move to go, if considering that he is Mage student. But however, Mauer is also known to be a little bit more stable. It likes to play in a more stable fashion compared to qqq, which means that we can probably even see we can see another knight f3, d4, d4, knight f3, knight f, you know, the something as we the same structure that we saw last game, something like this. I think that this is something really viable that can happen at this point. I think that this is something that we have to consider. Again, some other things that we can look at is probably e3, knight f6, knight f3, and probably some d4 at some point, just because that's more or less what I would expect from a human being to teach uh, here, here in this aspect. So yeah, definitely we're going to have some interesting options here of what's going to happen in the game. Okay, so right now, you got is taking break. Um, Now the question is, so are they going to go for? Is Mauer just going to go for a knight f3, knight f6, d4, d5, c3, c5, and then bishop? Or are we going to see bishop to g5? I think that both of these options have been seen a lot in the current meta. Knight bishop to g5 is actually becoming more popular over time, just because it provides a little bit more of aggressiveness than f5 than to f4. Bishop to f4 is a little bit more solid in the aspect that now this this is just a really powerful diagonal that you can utilize in the end. It also defends against future f2 shenanigans. It's a more stable line, as I mentioned, but it doesn't end into the chaos that bishop to g5 can create. Um, Another thing that we can look at. Uh, oh, it would be really fun if they play before, but no, that's not going to happen. Uh, Knight f3 is definitely another possibility. Sorry, e3 is definitely another possibility. My guess is that they're just if we enter into an e3 structure, we're going to see something like this. We're going to see something like this, and go back to and enter into mainline territory. That's actually my guess. I hope that I think that that's what we're going to look at, and it makes a lot of sense to see one of those openings at this point. The question now is being if we are really going to see either option. Okay, so we're waiting a little bit. Yeah, at this point we are just we are just waiting a little bit for both players to enter. Um, what else? I mean, I don't think that we will be seeing something like c5 actually. That will be a really interesting choice for qqq. That will mean that he will enter into a more aggressive line. e6 is also another possibility on the realms, but Maverick is also really common. But this would enter into some forced lines in which probably black can in which white can probably exile kings, and Mauer is that player who will not hesitate two times in just exiling king if he is able to. For example, if we see something like this, c3 is actually a move that we can look at. Okay, TQQ is ready. That means that okay. What? Okay. Now we've got into the spicy things. Knight f3, f5. What's going on right now? This is just insane. I've never seen someone this chat before in a tournament game. What's going on right now? So QQQ is going for f5, e6. Usually you play those moves in different order, but probably he's trying to make what he betted on was that he will try to first force knight f3 rather than, yeah, of course, c3, and now white is going for an f7 sack. Oh, oops, I yeah, wow. So f5. So not at all what we predicted. c3. My guess is that we're going to see at this point queen. We're going to see c6 at this point, which is the only move that makes sense to defend from this weird opening. So for example, let's go back into the analysis board. In the analysis board, I'm looking at c6 as the only alternative to make sure to defend this with a Tchaikovsky. Sorry, with a, not Tchaikovsky, with a pseudo defense. And we see c6, knight d4 as a knight d4, knight f6. This has become really spicy really soon. There's an open file. There's an open diagonal here on the queen side, in which now this diagonal is just going to be really dangerous for black. Yeah, and then Maurer just plays calmly a bishop c4, which makes a lot of sense. However, this is actually not the end of the story for black right now. There has been no f7 sack at this point, meaning that black can actually go for knight to. He can actually go for this line, which will be really can become really devastating for white if he's not careful at all at how to deal with this. The point being that he is going to be creating a board in which he will be able to time travel back, which will be this one. This will be really dangerous for him, but I think that's actually on the realm of possibilities. Right now, qqq is giving it a thought. I guess that uh, this was not inside his plans, at least the way he was thinking about how to set up this. I must say that this has just been a really wild opening. And we can actually see g6 as a really stable as a move that tries to maintain stability in this position. Queen b3, I think there's not a lot to say about it. Just pressuring a6, pressuring a6, queen e7, probably only move, yeah, only move actually, to not lose. And at this point, my prediction is that we're going to see some knight to d5 at some point. Yeah, I think that knight to d5 is a move that we can see. Maurer is considering d3, which will help freeing this knight, and he can move it. Is probably just trying to rotate it here, but there's not a lot of ways to doing it like that. So I don't think he's going to go for something like that. Well, this has been a really weird game, I must say. d3 is also on the realm of possibilities, but then knight, oh yeah, because this prevents knight to e4, which is also another thing that I forgot to mention. Knight to e4 was a little bit better before, because then you can probably just go back if necessary into here. Another move that we can look at, that we can see for black in the future is probably going to be knight h6, knight to c5, taking the queen uh, and defending at the same time the main weakness that is e6. Black on the other, white on the other hand has to find ways in which he can rotate into attack the tree, e3. For example, e3, 92, 93, 95, 95 might be a way he can route a knight to the attack there. So in the game, we see knight to a3. And we see knight to d4. Yeah, knight to to e4. This move is really dangerous for Mauer if he doesn't, because now there's a board in which Mauer can simply time travel to f2 with a knight defended, and if he does it with a queen, it's going to be a GG at some point. Oh, that's a move, I must say. That's actually a really interesting idea. So I can completely deny it, because it's not easy to take it with the king, because otherwise you expose yourself into so many threats. But I don't think that white wants to enter. And we're seeing right now Mauer considering uh, rook to f1. Rook to f1 being that if he goes for this idea, he will be able to kick the knight. However, that knight, yeah, I think that a move that was more precise here instead of knight takes f2 was knight to c5. Just kicking the queen, play it simple, you have a board in which the knight is defending. And he goes for this. Now let's see what Q got for this idea, because I'm sure that he has to have something under his sleeve. So yeah. Now we have to think about possibilities. So this knight is kind of trapped. It can go back. It can probably just go back here and try to kick the queen. That will be a move. But then f5 just becomes too weak to sustain. So that's something to consider when going for this idea. Another thing that we can look at right now, let me place the analysis board, is that we can probably, he can probably even sack completely the knight, but I'm not sure if he wants to do that. I don't think it's precise, to be fair. I think e4, knight to e4 might be probably the best move, and accept that you've lost material, that you've lost the that you're losing material, and just, well, just playing the position. There's not a lot to be said. So Mauer is looking at future time travels from Black's perspective. I'm not sure how scared he should be of this move, but definitely something that he has to consider and analyze, uh, especially having a knight, but because he has a knight on, yeah, he has a knight that is just staring at him. think that we're looking at the move. So he sacked completely. So he sacked completely the knight, and he's arguing that he has a time travel at this point. 1, 2, 3. He has the time travel. Black will have the time travel at some point, and I think that this is the moment in which white actually has to sack this in order to defend against this threat. I think that the move here for white is actually knight to f5. Knight to f5 will be a really nice move in order to prevent the time travel to the board that is 1, 2, 3. Because if he goes here, queen takes, and then king takes, knight checks, king moves, anywhere, checkmate. But I'm not sure if that's the move he's going for. Yeah, because in that way you block completely the diagonal, and that could be safe, and then you can actually take knight. But if you just play, yeah, and you force the queen to move, which is also a nice addition, and then you will be able to have a rook to back to the this rook into the game, which is really appreciated in my opinion. So apparently there has been now the move, and it has been f5, f4, and then he took the knight, queen, and then queen to f6. Now we're going to see that there has been that there's a time travel that Maurer is looking at. So as we've mentioned, this time travel is actually winning for takes, check, moves, check, mate. It's not a lot. Sorry. Takes, check, takes, knight checks, king has to move, queen, check, mate. So Maurer only moves here is to start sucking back the material, and that's what he does right now. Pawn takes, and now rook takes, exactly. Rook takes f5. Oh, he didn't submit it. He didn't submit it, and I submitted it. Yeah. Okay. And then rook takes. Yeah. Okay, this is fine. And then rook attacks the queen, kicking the queen, playing it simple. Go. It's time to attack. And also the queen the rook is now in the game, which is really good. This is actually really a really good situation for Maurer. Now Q, on the other side, he has to go for some ideas in which he has to probably try to play something to try to counterattack the other side. But the issue is that it's not that simple, because he actually has to defend the e6 weakness that he has created for himself. Several moves that could potentially work. For example, this move might be interesting to look forward to a queen exchange. We can look at, yeah, as I mentioned, queen e5, with the idea of queen d5, exchanging, forcing an exchange because then here is mate. I think that that's part of the realm of possibilities that we can see at this moment. The move being considered is returning back. This is the more solid approach. However, I think that this has to be losing there has to be a force made soon. If he goes there, which he does, knight to b5 is a devastating move that there's not a lot white can actually do if this move is played. The idea of knight b5 is that if you play knight b5, you're going to be able to get a check here, which either forces the king to move to this open file, which will be not great, or makes uh, the queen take, and if the queen takes, knight checks, bishop, the queen takes, mate. Mauer, on the other side, let's see what he's thinking right now, because this is actually a position that is really interesting. There are so many weaknesses that black has to defend, but yeah, a queen trade is definitely something that is something that I think that Q had to go in order to make this better, and I think that that's actually a missed opportunity. So Maurer on the other side looks at knight c4. So knight c4 is a good move, but I don't think it has the same impact that I don't think it has the same impact that it can be seen inside knight to b5. Both of them are gets the knight closer into the game. However, the difference is just a lot. Like it was able to notice. This has the advantage that now knight b5 is before knight to a6 could be a good defensive resource, but oh, he actually played something. Yeah, so he played now the bishop to a6. And then at this point, Mauer is just considering uh, knight to e5, which I think it's a really precise, a move that makes a lot of sense considering the context, and I think that there's not a lot of things you can actually do against this move because, well, a force exchange is going to it can actually enter, and he doesn't go for it. Okay, let's go closer into the board. Yeah, okay. So at the end, he decides he wants to go for knight to e5. Knight to e5, as I mentioned, really nice move. Probably in the future, some ideas to tempt trouble into e6, which would be nice. And at the same time, there's another idea that he can go for, which is rook to f7. Rook to f7 is also a devastating move for black's position because rook to e7 is just attacking the queen. At the same time that if this queen moves and in a way that it on defense e6, well, it's going to be not great for it's not going to be great. So Q decides to take out the rook. He cannot take with the g pawn because obviously that will end up in a checkmate with queen h4, which ends in a time trouble checkmate. He has to take with e pawn, which is what he does. And at this point, something that we might notice is that white has an open uh, an open e file, but it's actually not that easy to attack, surprisingly, because there's a lot of things uh, pressuring the position. A move that can occur is this one, trying to bring the rook into the game, kicking out the queen, kicking out and trying to open some trying to kick out the knight, because if that knight moves, there are just so many lines in which that might happen, and that's what we've seen. Actually, that's what we see. Rook to f8, which makes a lot of sense. It's a natural move, and Maurer is just considering a simple d3, which he actually plays. So this means that Maurer is playing for a position in which he can actually just is going to be able to be more active. I wonder if there's some time troubles for white at some point that we've been missing. And Q is now playing knight to c5, knight to a6, which is a really nice move, I must say. That right now it's really nice to see how uh, how has been recovering this game. Uh, if white is not careful, maybe white maybe Q can actually have an opportunity of even winning this game. Well, of stabilizing the position. But let's see, because if we see queen straight, I think this might be over for some point. But let's see what's going to happen. Let's go back to the game. So right now, both players have been using more or less the same time. Huh. Yeah, knight to c5 is actually a really annoying move for white to deal with. Like, for example, let's say you're not careful. Knight to c5 just looks like it defends so many things and it attacks so many things and also attacks this d3 weakness. So that's a really good catch from Q. Marvel considered bishop d2. I don't think this is the move that you want to go for in this position as white. Just because, I mean, I will probably go here as e3. But yeah, let's see. What happens soon, because at this point there's not a lot happening. Hmm. Oh, oof, that move is really spicy. Knight takes, uh, knight takes c6. Oof, we're getting into really interesting territory right now. So yeah, this has now become really complex at this point. This is a weakness. The queen you can take, but then knight takes, and you still have the same kind of difficulties of in the position. However, at the same time, there are some ideas that you can actually just play it safe and just queen to like queen to uh yeah, queen to d7, play it safe, push, and then this is going to be a mate in the open file. But at the same time, it's not that easy because the knight can actually go back and defend many threats. This position is becoming really spicy. Uh, yeah. So now the question is to see where does the queen actually have to move. If the queen moves, it has to be here, right? Because otherwise there's mating threats of knight checks, queen, mate. So actually that's like you can probably just take first, simplifying the position, and we see c takes, knight takes. Now there's only one move here that doesn't look losing for white, for black, and it's queen to d7. Queen to d7 looks probably survivable, probably, with a huge asterisk. In the game, that's the move that has been considered at this point, which makes sense because it seems like forced this move. But then the issue is that then knight takes knight is yeah, it's just like knight e7, king takes. Ouch. And here's the point. Now this queen is trapped. It's kind of trapped. But this is not the end of the story yet. Because black actually has queen to d5, trailing checkmate here in one, defending defending uh, defending b5 as a weakness. If queen checks here, bishop goes back, and probably survivable for black at this point. I think that's the only move that can probably save uh, black at this position. Um, yeah, there's not a lot to say. Let's see what they're here they are playing. So qqq is looking for something to defend. I think that, as I mentioned, the only move that makes some sense here to defend will be just the queen back, uh, the queen to d5. So if takes, and you have some turns before this can become a huge threat. But at this point, it's definitely losing for black. There's not a lot that black can do to defend, but I'm sure that there are some ways that huh. So this move. So he played it with the bishop. Plays it with the bishop. I don't know why I thought first moment that that didn't work. Oh no. Oh no, actually, yeah, this is just crazy how they've been able to switch all the time. So for anyone who is confused right now, this is like an oh no, my queen, and then you get mated on h1 with the bishop. So bishop h1. Actually, this move was better than what I was considering. Uh, I don't know why I discarded it immediately. Yeah, but black might be winning here actually. Are there time troubles with the queen? I mean, not really, but yeah, they're definitely part of the menu today. Sometimes troubles here because of last hope. Knight takes. Wow. Let's see what Mauer is saying. Mauer, if if Mauer was able to castle at this point, if he had the bishop out of the game at this point for some reason, this will be winning for white. But I think that yeah, this is losing for white. I don't know how that was missed. And and this move was played. It's a really tricky move, I must say. So for anyone who is confused, why I said it's really tricky, you cannot take with the bishop because then you enter into first mate with knight takes, queen takes, check. Oh, although, wait. Knight takes, wait, one, two, one, two. Now, well, probably there are some recaptures, but it doesn't look like that's the case immediately. Probably this move, delay. No, sorry. Another thing that is dangerous at this point is if black is not careful enough. For example, the knight a6, queen takes, king takes, soft mate. So yeah, it has to be really careful. Black has to be really careful if he wants to go for that win. This position is just so crazy, so imbalanced. I don't know. It has been a really interesting story until this point, to say the least. And also, black has to be careful if queen takes. White might actually just be one turn faster and defend everything. Which, if that's the case, it would be just so funny. Uh, I think no, that doesn't look good. Probably even just doing something like this, going into the future. No, that doesn't work because then you get Tchaikovsky. Okay, so you cannot exile king, for example, in this position, because then queen takes, and it's going to be checkmate. So yeah, that's not. So exile kings is not in the possibility. So qqq is right now looking if there's a win. Probably. I think that he's lost. He should be lost at this point. Probably this move might be funny. Oh, actually, this move might actually be really funny. Because now these knights are actually defending here, the bishop. Let me show you the move. You add an extra defender to e6 at the same time this knight is able to take either piece at the same time that this bishop is able to take either piece. Is that the queen? No. And he then travels with the bishop. And call the bluff. And then after this, what happened was takes, takes. Oh, wait a sec. Oh, oh, wow. That was a move. I must say that move had so much style. Wow. Oh, whew. That was a really insane clutch. With 7 seconds on the clock, time travel into in a triagonal. Faces through so many pieces through a pawn and a knight, and manages to get into e4, get which leads into a forced mate. Hello, Citrus. Wow. Oh, yeah, yeah, trouble here. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. How well this went. That was really, really epic, I must say. And yeah, this, just look at this time problem. One, two, this triangle. One, two, one, two. It's just insane. And now let's show the arrow. Wow. Oh, oops. I confused. Oh, I don't know for how long. Yeah, I mean, this time check is just like insane. It's just ridiculous how well this worked. Now we're going to see the tiebreaker. That game was insane. I don't know how I that was a really nice catch from qqqqk. That time travel diagonal and it was on the last 7 seconds of the clock. Wow, that game was insane. Let's just look at this. Just I mean, this time travel on its own was really genius. I don't know how that happened. So right now, what we're going to see is we're going to be able to. It's going to be random short clocks. So now the thing is to see what's going to happen at this point. So Malware has QQQ has asked for 5 minutes, which is really understandable now after seeing the mate that he has pulled out for himself. It's just incredible that that was a thing. And yeah, holy moly, that that game was really cool. Now, game three. This is going to be the tiebreaker. Now the format of this game is different. Now it is going to be it is going to be a short clock, random colors. So we don't know what is going to happen at this point, but it's going to be really interesting, I must say. Uh, I think that it's going to be crucial who has the white pieces, but it's going to be, but it's something that we have to see how we're going to look at this. I think that at this point, this is just something so crazy. Hmm. So yeah, I'm going to take a break right now. Okay, we're back. So right now we're going to they're ready. They say that they're ready, and it's time for us just to be able to see what they have, what these players have in their mind. Okay, so apparently they're having some issues there with the passcode. Okay, now they're inside. Perfect. So what are we going to see in this game? Um, so we see knight f3, knight f6. So Mauer is playing as white this game, and qqqqk as black. Queen b3, queen b6, e3, e6. And now both knights, just as the previous game. And from here, they have a position that has been reached hundreds of times uh, inside the 5D chess community. And what we're going to look at this point is that my guess is that they're going for some uh, things that they have to consider. For example, when they're probably going to do some, they they have to see how to liberate the they have to see how to liberate this bishop of the game. They're probably going to do it by g3, or which would weaken a lot the position, or it will simply have to be done in another way. There's has been some issues with the stream, as you can see, so let's hope those can actually resolve soon. Okay, it's kind of getting back, and g3 was played. G3 is an interesting move in the aspect that he's probably just going for a long castle, for a short castle. However, this also has the disadvantage. They're playing completely symmetrical apparently. G3, G6, Frappuccino, and Fianchetto. And black has to go for something that has to do something to make sure to create some imbalances. My guess is that we're going to see castle, Fianchetto, castle, h5. That will make a lot of sense in game. Frappuccino, castle, and queen trade at this point, which is the first imbalance of the game. Castles, and right now bishop to d6 might be a little bit annoying, but it was more annoying if he didn't allow it to allow him to castle. I think that at this point it was better for black to allow the bishop to d6 as long as he had played h5 to destroy the castle. So yeah. Okay, so the move played here is b6. Logical move to prevent the knight movement forward, so it forces the knight to go back in the future if it wants to progress. Knight to e5. Knight to e5. Change, takes, takes, and now we have a really solid bishop in the middle of the game. So right now, something that I'm looking at is definitely knight forward to e5. That's something that can happen. Knight to to g4 is also a really reasonable move too. Uh, at this point, qqq decides to go for knight to e4, which results in rook a to d1. I think that Mauer is not afraid of losing this bishop, of losing the bishop, just because if after the bishop takes, pawn takes, he will be able to bring out his rook. Time is more or less the same for both players, and we've entered into this line in which they exchange everything. So yeah, at this point, a natural move is definitely something like this. But let's something like this, which will be able to let them to let the position attack the pawn, which is a natural move. Instead, uh, qqq opted to go for bishop to e5, attacking the pawn with his bishop. Then he went with e4, e4 being the move that being a move that makes sure to hold to attack the center, trying to open lines and prepare to be able to launch that pawn on d6 forward, forcing either an exchange or moving the bishop, which could get dropped right now. So I don't know how dangerous it might be, because to getting it dropped would require something like f3 in this position for white, which and g5, which could open a little bit to overextend, white in the game, but it's definitely inside the realm of possibilities. Bishop takes e4, and we see bishop takes, and it takes e4, which it makes a lot of sense as a move, because in this position, after we will be able to have this better. Rook to e1, rook to e1, and then, oh no, never mind, it was not rook to e1, it was rook to e2. Yeah, uh, that didn't help a lot for the analysis board, but we're going to continue with the game. Uh, let's just do a random move to substitute that and hope there are no time troubles. Uh, qqq goes push for a push here, which opens everything up. So I'm not sure what he is looking for at this point. And now he attacks the other pawn. He starts attacking the other pawn. and push. So now we're able to have the way this game is going to go is Mauer is going to stack pressure on the D file with his rooks. On the other hand, what's going to happen with Mauer is that what is going to happen with Q is that he's going to try to take out this pawn eventually, even at some point. He's looking apparently to some sacrifices to be done. And yeah, it looks like black is in a better position on this, in some aspects, because that knight is not going, that rook is not going to be, that pawn is not going to be able to be captured. Now we see rook moves upward. Knight rotates to e2. Interesting rotation maneuvering. I think that he's trying to enter into here on f6, or probably trying to do some shenanigans in entering to d5. Right now, uh, Maurer is ahead on the clock. It is 7 minutes, while qqq is 4 minutes. Right now, he took, and they've entered into an exchange of rooks. And now now this is a really interesting endgame that is not commonly seen. Bishop is going to be is bishop and rook versus knight and rook. Will they exchange pieces and go into a rook and rook endgame? That will be really interesting to see inside the game, and it will be they will enter into a really complex position that I'm really interested to see. They will be entering into a hanging pawn structure, kind of. Well, not hanging pawn structure. And he took with the rook. Now we have rook versus bishop endgame. This is actually just insane. I don't remember seeing this. I just remember seeing like 1 or 2 games like this. But usually they have a rook on the a rook with them just to be able to do some analysis. Uh, now now Mauer is just looking for time travels, which makes a lot of sense. If you have the rook, you have to be able to utilize that uh, in the future, since you have the Jurassic rooks. The rooks become stronger as each turn proceeds. We see on the instead of looking at the rook move, Maurer opts to go for d4, which will make this position super interesting. Now, on the other side, it seems that qqq went for bishop h6, betting that uh, betting that he will be the one who is going to be able to utilize some checks. We see now h4. h4 is definitely a move that I'm not sure if I would play it. I would probably stick with a better structure for my king, considering that it's safe. But we see now qqq is now going for all the weaknesses, and we're going to be able to see that the rook is now in a state in which it's going to be kind of pinned. It's not able to move to it's not able to move something like this, because then well, black is going to be able to mate on a1. So it's kind of pinned. and the weaknesses are not easy to defend. There's so there's so many things that that white has to consider here. Will is now the question is if this exchange was actually genius from it was a genius move from Mauer. I think that this is the move that can be considered. Another move probably is just to accept that this pawn is sacked and just go for that idea. Uh, and at this point, it seems that Mauer is stuck and he's is wasting a lot of his time. He doesn't know what to do. He considers right now pushing his pawn, and he pushes the B pawn at the end. This move will lead into probably opening and taking the the pawn and trying to create some weaknesses for black to target in the future. But it's not that easy. But it's not that easy. And we see rook c1, and now this looks like maybe there's only one move here that doesn't lose for black in my which is just taking here with check and being off material. What did he pushes the pawn, and I think that we saw pawn takes and time trouble with the and we saw time trouble with the bishop. Mauer played the correct move in my opinion, which is king moves. But now he's in danger too, because now there's an open file to his king, and there's not a lot of things to defend it. So probably even probably the move was no, it was well no it was not possible. Uh yeah. So here this move should lose almost on the spot to bishop to e1. And I don't think that Mauer has a time trouble from the other board. So QQQ might be winning here with a time trouble shenanigan. Sorry, with because of the bishops. The move here for white uh, for black to win is definitely this, in my opinion. Although almost everything wins at this point. Anything wins at this point. And now we see how QQQ is setting up some really major problems. And I think that this might be actually GG. Yeah, this is going to be a GG. Oh, this is so funny. This is just so funny. He actually has now pawn takes pawn uh, bishop, and now wow. So that was a really nice game from both for both qqq and Mauer. It was a really good 5D Pogchamps championship. It definitely looked how both players uh, have been able to practice, have been able to develop their skills throughout 5 chess throughout this game, thanks to the help of coaches that helped them create this. And I think that this game showed how 5D chess as a game has increased a lot in level, because even though they were new players, they uh, relatively new players to the game. They have like 1 or 2 months playing basically. It can be seen that they have been that they've learned from the best players in order to create their unique play style that well defines them as players. And so it's so I think that this was a really cool game. And wow, I think that the only way the chance that the the best chance that Maverick had at this point was go was probably no, there were not a lot of things Maverick could do. It was just insane. It was a really good trade-off. I think that probably Maverick should have Jurassic Grip at some point, but even then it was just incredible. Either way, I'm going to end up this video right now, and I hope you enjoyed this huge analysis for 5 chess, and I'm going to leave you here. Bye.